Hello my friends, and thanks for tuning in to the Electron Rider Club. My name is Tyson, and today I'm going to be showing you the Aniioki AQ177 Pro Max electric bike. My first bit of feedback is that is a really long name and they should maybe shorten it down a little bit. But hey, let's dive into it. This is actually honestly one of the more interesting and honestly really cool electric bikes that I've reviewed in a long time. I've been reviewing electric bikes for about 6 years now, and this one has the biggest capacity by far for the battery. I mean, it is just massive. Let's take a look at the bike here. I love the design. I'm a big fan of the black color scheme, really tasteful branding on here. Adds a little bit of side visibility. It looks sleek and it looks big. I mean, look at the size of this down tube. This thing is just absolutely massive, and that's because it's housing this huge battery right here. You're looking at a 48 volt 60 amp hour battery. That's 2,880 watts of capacity. Now for reference, the average electric bike has, you know, maybe like 500 600 watt hours. 1,000 watt hours is considered pretty high capacity. We're coming in here at almost triple that, and they actually have a 60 volt version for even more power. That's just absolutely massive. Now you do pay a cost in terms of weight. This is also the heaviest e-bike that I've reviewed, coming in at 116 pounds, and that is really hefty. You know, if you have to like carry that upstairs or something, that is going to be very difficult. You're gonna have to do 2 trips with the battery separate, most likely. That's what I have to do. And if you need to carry it on a trailer behind your car, like a bike rack rather, then you're probably gonna have to take the battery out for that, which isn't a huge deal. It is still really heavy even without the battery, coming in at about 89 pounds. So even for a fat tire electric bike, that is a lot of weight, especially for a small platform. You know, this is the mini bike platform. We've got the 20-inch by 4-inch fat tires on here. So bikes in this form factor typically weigh a bit less, but you have to have a really strong and sturdy frame in order to support that battery weight. Plus you've got yourself, maybe you've got a rider on the back there. You can actually do that. You can hold up to 55 pounds on the rear rack. So it's you know, you can't carry another adult-sized human back there, but you know, maybe like a kid or something, you'd have to put some foot pegs, and there is you know, you could install some on here, or just, you know, have them hang their feet off to the side if you're not going too far. The seat actually slides off easily. It forward, backward, there we go. We can pop it out just like that. So if you're carrying cargo, or maybe you want to like mount a bigger cargo container on here, you'd be able to mount one pretty securely on there, carry quite a bit more. I think it's a pretty good feature. And then, you know, if you do want to try to carry a passenger, you can just pop this bad boy in and slide it forward. Oh, kind of finicky to do with one hand. There we go. All back to normal. So yeah, that's a nice feature. I honestly probably wouldn't use the seat ever. I would just use it for cargo, but I wanted to, you know, throw it on there just to show it off. But let's just jump right in and talk about the electrical components on this bike, because it really is the main feature on this bike. Now there's some electric bikes that are made more for, you know, riding like a bike, and they just help you out a bit. Like a class 1 electric bike doesn't have a throttle, usually a pretty low power motor. That's a bike that's meant to be ridden like a bike and just give you a little bit of extra juice. But this is honestly almost meant to be ridden more like a moped, where you have a very powerful motor, very high capacity battery. You've actually got a full twist throttle up here on the right, so the entire handlebar twists, which I love because I'm a motorcycle rider. That feels great. But then you have to keep in mind the grip is the throttle, and so if you're trying to go like off-road or something, going over bumps, maybe standing up on the pedals, it'd be easy to accidentally hit the throttle when you don't mean to. So that's why I mean it's kind of meant to be ridden more like a moped, where you are using the throttle, you're cruising around on city streets, probably not doing a whole lot of off-roading just because it's such a heavy bike. It's not gonna, you know, it's not gonna be a very fun experience. Anyway, jumping back in here, this is the rear hub motor, 750 watts. Now I asked Aniioki about you know, who manufactures it, and they said that they're manufacturing their own motor and their own battery cells, which explains why they were able to get the cost so cheap. You know, this version here, the 48 volt and 60 amp hour version, comes in at, you know, $1,800, which for everything that you have on here seems like almost suspiciously cheap. So I think part of that is that they're manufacturing their own motor and cells. Now the downside there is that I can't really speak to the quality. They're kind of a newer brand, and so we'll have to, you know, hear from people who've owned these for a longer period of time how those components hold up. They're performing very well for me, but as a reviewer, my access to the bike and how much time I can spend with it is kind of limited. So if you have one of these bikes, you know, chime in the comment section. Let us know what you think about them. And here is the battery mounted into the down tube. Now it's a step-through bike, but it still feels very stable at speed because it's such a massive frame. It has to be, right? We can pop the battery out here. They got a nice handle on here for lifting it, which is a must because this thing weighs about 30 pounds. I mean, it's huge. It's absolutely massive. And what's interesting too is the charging interface. This is just a standard, I don't know what you call this. It's like an outlet that you'd see in your house for charging this. And the charger is actually massive too, which is nice considering the capacity of this battery. With a standard e-bike charger, which is about 2 amps, then you would probably spend about 2 days charging this battery. It'd take forever. But they included a huge 8 amp charger, so you should be able to charge it to full in, you know, like maybe 8 hours, maybe 10 if you ran it all the way out, which you should try not to do. It's kind of rough on the battery cells. And with a battery this high capacity, you don't need to run it out. I mean, we're talking, you know, they say that you can get 200 miles of range with pedal assist on their website, and I don't think that's an exaggeration. I mean, this thing is huge. If you're going on throttle only mode, it probably would not be difficult to get past 100 miles just on a single charge, and that's more than you want to be sitting in the saddle for. It does fit very securely and snugly into the frame. They did a good job with this. It's easy to take out and put in, even with one hand. Get it in there and you just push it until it clicks, nice and secure. It does have a charging port on the other side if you want to charge it on the bike, just exposing the port that is on the battery itself. Good positioning here, nice and high up on the frame. You see some bikes where the chargers are down here at the bottom bracket, and that's just a bad location because it can get hit by the pedals. So if you're charging the bike and you have to move it around in the garage or something, you could hit that and break something. Let's round out the electrical components with the display, lighting, all of that jazz. Now, the display overall, I like a lot, except for the brightness. It's not on right now, but I'm gonna turn it on, hit the power button. Now, it has these NFC cards for unlocking it, which is an amazing feature. More and more bikes and scooters are starting to include these. You just stick it on the screen, there you go, but you probably can't, I can't even see anything. Like in this bright sunlight, it's pretty much impossible to make anything out on this display. That's really the one problem that I have with the display. It's just tough to see in the bright daylight. But other than that, it's got a good loadout of features. Shows you all your stats. You can change between, like, you know, your overall lifetime odometer or your trip odometer, ride time. Pretty customizable too. Their manual, actually, they have a very nice manual for if you want to change like how many levels of pedal assist you have, or whether or not the throttle and pedal assist are linked, and a bunch of other stuff. And even just the assembly part of their manual, like, it's actually very well done. You know, good color quality. It's actually written in good English, which is surprisingly rare for electric bike manuals. So they did a good job there. Jumping back over here, display is adjustable for angle, so you can, you know, get that dialed in perfectly, but it's not easily removable, which means, you know, it can get damaged by weather or bumps and stuff if you have to leave it at a bike rack. But hopefully you don't have to do that. You know, ideally you have someplace safe to store it at your house. The control pad is over here on the left. Pretty basic and straightforward here, where you have your plus and minus to change your pedal assist level up and down, which also controls the throttle level and your top speed. You can hit the I to cycle through all of your, you know, display parameters for what it's showing you as you're riding. You can turn your lights on and off right here, and you have a full motorcycle style control for the lights and the horn over here. You've got your left and right turn signals and your buzzer horn. I'm gonna leave the blinker on just so I can show you these, and it is a very bright day, of course. The headlight is still pretty bright. I mean, honestly, even in daytime, you know, you can see it from a distance, so that does help out with visibility, helping other people on the road to see you. And then coming around to the back, the tail light does not have a whole lot of power to it. You can I can barely see the blinker. Like, these blinkers are not going to help at all with signaling in the daytime, but at night it can help to, you know, let people know which way you're going. So let's talk about just the bicycle components on here, you know, the human-powered side of things, what you're going to be interacting with if you're not using your electric assist at all. It's basic to middle of the road, depending on the components. The drivetrain here is a Shimano tourney. This is entry-level from Shimano, but it's still Shimano, and they make pretty good quality stuff. You've got a good double-sided bash guard on here, keep your pants and other debris from getting tangled up in the chain. The tires on here are unbranded 20 by 4 inch fat tires. They don't have any reflective striping on the sidewalls here, just solid black. And they also don't have any puncture protection. So that's something you'd want to keep in mind if you are looking at one of these and you want to be riding off-road, even just light trails. When a flat tire on something this big is really difficult to change. So you could like put some slime in there, or Tannis armor inserts will help out a lot. Now you do get full suspension on here, and it's unbranded, so I'm not sure like who's manufacturing it. So it's not as high performing as some other stuff you might see out there, but it's nice big dual coil suspension here on the back. And then up front, you've got this coil suspension with hydraulic lockout. You've got the adjustment knobs up here for those. You can tighten up the preload, get it dialed in. Not a ton of travel. You know, you're looking at 60 to 80 millimeters there, and probably about 40-ish millimeters on the back. So like I was saying earlier, this is not designed for any extreme off-road riding, but you wouldn't want to anyways. It's way too heavy of a bike. That's just not what it's meant for. This is really like, this is an urban vehicle. Very, very moped-esque is how it feels to me. You do get full coverage, plastic fenders, front and rear, pretty well designed here. They're mounted well. Plastic is nice because it's very resilient. It doesn't, you know, ding or rust the way that, you know, steel fenders or even alloy fenders might. Now it can be louder, but these are mounted well enough. I haven't really noticed the fenders rattling, at least not all too much. And I say that with a little bit of hesitation because as I've been riding the bike, there's something that is just randomly like rattling and pinging and making noise that I haven't really been able to isolate the source of. Some of it comes from the brakes. My front rotor will just randomly make pinging noises and then stop. I've adjusted it. I think I get it good, and then it'll do it again. And I actually found another review out there where somebody was talking about the same thing. So possibly a problem with these brakes? I don't know. Speaking of the brakes, let's look at them here. They are DY Island brakes. I've never ridden this brand before. If you have, or you just have thoughts about their quality, you know, let me know in the comments section. I'm curious to know what you think. They feel flimsy. Like they do a great job stopping the brake. Maybe it's just because these are like really lightweight plastic levers on here, but squeezing on them, they just like, something about them feels like just a little bit too lightweight. Maybe that's me. Maybe I'm just being nitpicky here. They are nice big 180 millimeter rotors. I like these rotors. They actually look quite a bit different than, you know, the ones I see on 90% of other electric bikes. And that's a big enough rotor that you're gonna get great stopping power, which you need on a bike that's this big and heavy. And so hopefully I can get the issue with them just making a lot of extra pinging noises dialed in. And for shifting gears up here, we've got the old standby SIS index thumb shifter on the right grip. Bonus of these thumb shifters, they're very easy to operate with gloves. That's their biggest benefit over trigger shifters. Now I do prefer trigger shifters, but this gets the job done, especially on a bike like this where you're probably going to be relying on the throttle a bit more. And honestly, with bikes that are this powerful in terms of their electrical power, I like to just keep it all the way up in gear 7. Because when you're starting off from a dead stop, you can use the throttle to get going, and then you can pedal at higher speed if you want to get some exercise. So I think this is a good choice for the bike. And then, you know, we can talk about just the overall, the geometry, the seating position. I love it, honestly. This is a very adjustable bike. I've got the saddle up as far as it will go, which feels nice for me since I'm really tall. But you could lower that a long ways down, make it, you know, pretty much anybody can get on this bike and ride. You know, I'm at 6'3", I feel comfortable. You can adjust the handlebar forward and backwards as much as you want. So if you know, want a more forward riding position, or maybe you just want to, like, you know, lean back, be upright and relaxed, you can do either one. It's really easy. Overall, definitely a fan of the design. Having it step through is nice, very easy to get on and off, and it is nice and short. Like, it's honestly not a very big vehicle, which helps out if you're, you know, storing it in the garage. It's not going to take up as much space. All right, we are going to just jump on and take it for a spin. I've got it powered on. It's just in level 1 right now, and so that means the speed is going to be capped to about 8 miles per hour, whether or not you're pedaling or just using the throttle. So if I hit the throttle, it's, you know, pretty tame, taking off, and I mean, actually, yeah, we're hitting about 6 miles per hour. So when you're just in level 1, it does not give you a whole lot of juice. You know, if I start pedaling, it's not going to let me get up past that. But it is pretty easy to pedal. You know, just like if I shift it all the way down to the easiest gear, decent pedal cadence at this speed. So, you know, honestly, it feels easier than I expected it to, considering that it is, you know, weighing in at 116 pounds. Feels pretty decent. But that is not how this bike is meant to be ridden. You don't put the 3,000 watt-hour capacity battery on here so that you can pedal around at low speed. So I'm gonna bump that all the way up to level 5, and we're gonna see what we can do climbing a hill, because there's a reasonably steep one right over here. We don't have a lot of steep hills in Fort Collins, but oh man, I can just, if I'm pedaling, the acceleration on this is just, it's wild. It's so much fun to ride. I'm gonna slow down and stop here since we've got the incline. I just want to see what the throttle can do, you know, with carrying this much weight especially. We'll just hit the throttle, take off without pedaling. No problem, we're already up to 15 miles per hour. We hit 20. And so yeah, we get, you know, easy 20 going up there. That wasn't a super steep hill, but you should have no problem with it on inclines. And I wasn't even pedaling either, so it's doing awesome. These rear hub motors, they're known for being more peaky than they are torquey, which means like starting off from a dead stop, you don't have awesome acceleration, but then once you get up to like 5 or 10 miles per hour, it really starts to kick in, and then it can just really take off. The pedal assist sensor on this bike is a cadence sensor, which means it measures revolutions of your pedals going around, and the effect of that is that there's a delay. So when you start pedaling, a little bit of a delay before the engine will kick in, and then when you stop pedaling, it will, you know, there will likewise be a delay before the motor stops. But it's not that much of a delay, honestly, and it feels pretty smooth when you're already in motion. Like when you start pedaling, and it'll just kind of slowly ramp in to meet you. They've got it pretty well dialed in. It feels good. Even though it's not quite as responsive as torque-based systems, for a bike like this, I don't think that really matters. I think it's a pretty good fit on this sort of a moped style. Let's see what we can do top speed pedaling. We're already at 20 miles per hour and fast accelerating. Now, I do have it up in gear 7 already. I can't shift any higher, so you know, now we're going about 30, but like my feet are pumping. So if you want to go this fast, you know, 30-ish miles per hour, you're probably going to be using the throttle rather than pedaling. Ooh, you hear that? I'm going to see if I can kind of capture that. Something in the back has been like rattling and just making all kinds of noise while I've been riding. So yeah, I'm not sure what it is that's making that noise, but I've just noticed it on and on quite a bit, and sometimes it sounds like it's coming from the back, sometimes from the front. I think it's the brakes. But overall, the bike does feel very stable, honestly. I mean, I'm able to ride no-handed comfortably, which is usually difficult to do on a mini bike, you know, fat tire platform like this. That kind of can be a little bit more squirrely. I'm looking behind, so I'm gonna try and turn around here, go back the other way. But yeah, you know, I can ride no-handed, and it feels pretty good. It feels pretty stable. Even at these, I mean, yeah, even at 30 miles per hour, I feel comfortable riding no-handed or with one hand and filming. So I think that does really say something, you know, aside from just the occasional rattling, pinging, whatever that is. It feels pretty solid. Alrighty. Let's switch over to the chest cam just because I want to push it a bit more, you know. Ride fast, do a little bit of light trail, you know, nothing too serious. But I do feel a lot safer being able to have both hands on the grips. Do a brake test here. So, I mean, stopping power is awesome. Honestly, like it does a really good job bringing the bike to a halt. And so, you know, maybe I was a little bit harder on the brakes than I need to be. Like in terms of stopping power, it feels awesome. Feels very comfortable, just cruising on nice, smooth bike paths like this. I've got it set to level 3, which caps my speed at about 19, 20 miles per hour, which is a good idea to do if you're riding on a mixed use trail like this, where you're going to be seeing people walking or riding regular bicycles. You don't want to be that jerk who is zooming around on an e-bike at 30 miles per hour, scaring people off the trail. Take it off the pavement onto the dirt for a little ways. I'm gonna leave it in level 3 for right now, just kind of get a feel for it. I can definitely feel the bumps a little bit. The suspension helps out a lot, but it doesn't have a ton of travel. All right, let's kick it up to level 5. We're right up 29, 30 miles per hour. Pretty easy to get up there and hit it. Good stopping even on the sand and gravel. It's a nice little bit of bumpiness here. Ooh, that didn't sound good. So I'm going to pull back and make sure everything looks okay. That was a a really loud knock when I went over that bump. And I mean, it could have just been the suspension bottoming out. So we'll keep riding and see if anything falls off. But I think that highlights my earlier point that this is not a bike that's meant for any extreme trail riding. Keep it on pavement most of the time, or just the lighter trails. Now, an unexpected and I guess unadvertised feature of this bike is it seems to have some kind of a cruise control for the throttle. I haven't been able to get it to kick in very consistently, but I'll see if I can now. But basically you have to be, stop pedaling, just be using the throttle. I think it has to be up at top speed, more or less. So I'll wait till we, get up there. We're at 29, 30. I'll let go of the throttle, and it just keeps going. Not touching the throttle. We're maintaining speed at 30. So some kind of a cruise control has definitely kicked in. It's a little bit wonky. There's been times where I'm trying to get it to do it, and it doesn't. And I did it on accident the first time. Now, I honestly do like having that feature because with a full grip twist throttle like this, if you're on a longer ride, you don't want to have to keep on holding the throttle the whole time. It doesn't take a ton of pressure, but after a while, that can kind of hurt your wrist. And so when you can just, let go of the throttle and let it cruise, I do like that. I'm going to see if I can get it to kick in at a lower level. I'm going to put it down to just level 2, so my top speed's lower. See, okay, so yeah, I can only get it up to 11, 12 miles per hour. Now I'll let go of the throttle, see if it kicks in. And it did, yeah, look at that. We're just cruising at 12 miles per hour. So I think it's just at, whatever the speed limit is for your current pedal assist setting, that's where your throttle can kick in. It probably is something you can control in the display. But yeah, I'm a fan. I like that feature a lot. It's not common on electric bikes. All right, let's kick this on up here to 5. Juice the throttle. Something I really like about this bike is that you can keep pace with traffic pretty easily. I'm riding on streets where the speed limit's 30 miles per hour, and I can do that on here. I can maintain that speed, and so we can just ride with traffic, which I'm gonna have to do because, this whole side of the road, including my bike lane, is closed up ahead. So we're going to turn left here and ride on some streets that don't even have a bike lane. This is a pretty short bike, and so I can see over some of the cars ahead of me thanks to my height. But it doesn't feel as safe as a taller bike might. But we have a lot of power on tap, which really goes a long way to just feeling more safe and secure on here. And with pedaling, we can accelerate pretty fast. And of course, being on a bike, it makes it very easy to, you know, take little shortcuts that you couldn't do nearly as easily in a car. Alrighty folks, we're about at the end of the road for this review. So just to give you some closing thoughts here, overall I do really like this bike. I do have some concerns just about the unknowns, you know, like how well are the motor and the battery cells going to hold up over time, and the quality of the brakes, just since I'm not familiar with that brand. But overall, I've had a ton of fun on this bike, and it's hard to argue with a price point of just 1,800 bucks. Like, that is pretty awesome. So if you're thinking about getting this, you know, the biggest things to keep in mind that I think are important are, just remember, it weighs about 120 pounds. So you need to be careful or comfortable maneuvering that and have some place to store it. Keep in mind too, like, since Aniioki is a fairly new brand and I don't think they have any dealers yet, you're gonna have to order this online before you can get a chance to try it out yourself. Now, you should be able to fit on it. It's very adjustable, but you know, my recommendation would be is just, you know, make sure you have a local bike shop that works on electric bikes. That way, you know, if you do get it, maybe you need help setting it up, or, you know, just help getting things tuned on it every now and then, you have somebody that you can go to. All right, guys, you got questions on this review? Then, you know, chime in down in the comment section. Let me know what you think, and you can head over to our website as well. We've got the full written review. We've got photos. We've got comments on there. We've got all kinds of search and compare tools that you can use. Recently launched too, so, you know, go over, check it out. Let us know what you think. All right, guys, take care, and I will see you in my next review.